Councilmember Thurman, you have item 8, AB 2272. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm here to present AB 2272. This is a bill that promotes workplace safety. In particular, it would establish new regulations that would regulate the issue of plumes, which I now know is smoke that is caused during surgery that has contaminants that can be very harmful to the patients, to nurses, to physicians, and that we have an opportunity to remove these toxic gas vapors with very simple and cost-effective practices. These toxic gas vapors carry viruses and other blood-borne pathogens that can promote illness, and we can remove them by using smoke evacuators. This is our opportunity to protect our workforce, to protect patients, and I would respectfully ask for your aye vote. I'm honored to have two experts in the field here today who like to provide emphasis on this matter.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Stephanie Roberson on behalf of the California Nurses Association, proud sponsors of Mr. Thurman's bill, AB 2272. Members, we have known since the early 80s and 90s through credible agencies, whether it be NIOSH, through the CDC, the Joint Commission, huge New York Times article in the 80s front page news, and the National Nurses Health Study, that the effects on healthcare workers and patients when human tissue is destroyed during surgical procedures, that's a real health risk. When tissue is destroyed, for instance, by laser through surgical incisions, there is a surgical plume that generates. That byproduct or plume contains toxic vapors, benzene, cyanide, and formaldehyde, viruses, and bloodborne fragments containing other bloodborne pathogens. Plume is also mutagenic, cancer-causing agents, and cancer-causing producing particles. Studies show that 1 gram of tissue burned by laser means is equivalent to smoking 3 cigarettes a day. 1 gram of tissue burned by electrocautery means is equivalent to smoking 6 cigarettes. Plume causes ocular problems, respiratory issues, and even laryngeal papilloma, and that's HPV in the throat. This happened actually to a nurse when they were burning off surgical warts. This bill is essential to the protection of worker safety, and not to mention to the patients who are exposed to plume when they're under general anesthesia. They're breathing it all in. So there's been, a lot of work done in other industrialized countries. This will actually be the first piece of work done in the state of California, and we could be a leader in this issue. So we respectfully ask for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Penny Smalley. I'm a registered nurse with perioperative experience, but I'm here today representing the International Council on Surgical Plume, which is a nonprofit clinical advocacy organization with a membership of over 80,000 healthcare professionals. We are committed to eliminating surgical plume through education, through research, and through support for standards and legislation. I've been an advocate for plume evacuation since the beginning of my career, admittedly a number of years ago. I'm also a contributing author on most of the national and international standards and regulations that are available today. I've seen a significant impact on clinical practice when standards, which are consensus documents, become mandates. The shift to required compliance prevents staff from having to work in an at-risk environment and patient safety put in jeopardy because of an individual who may refuse to use a simple smoke evacuation device, just simply because of preference. Excuse me. An operating room is an enclosed workplace, working environment without windows or open doors, and it relies on a system of air exchanges to move air, but that movement does not filter the air to submicron particulates, which are the hazardous components of the plume that is being produced. However, there is a broad range of currently available devices that both suction and filter these particulates. There's a workable solution for every facility, regardless of size, from major teaching hospitals down to the smallest clinical practices. Clean air in the operating room can be a reality without any changes to surgical technique or work practices on the part of either the surgeons or the operating room nurses. The devices are simple to obtain, simple to retrofit to existing equipment, and simple to use, but they yield great health benefits to everyone in the room, not just the staff, but to the patients in our care. The costs are reasonable, ranging from $1,000 to $5,000 per suction system. ICSP supports this bill because we believe that no one should accept a known risk in their workplace when mitigating that risk takes little but the desire to do it.
Thank you for your testimony. And others in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with the California Labor Federation, also in strong support of this bill. While we believe it's always critically important to do whatever we can to minimize these kinds of workplace exposures, it's especially important when we're talking about things like surgical plume that generate these kinds of aerosol transmissible diseases that not only are incredibly hard on the workers and incredibly difficult to diagnose and treat, but they're incredibly expensive. The workers' comp system, for all the things that it does right, really struggles with these kinds of conditions, not least of which because they are so hard to recover from and they are so expensive and hard to diagnose, but because they are something that just kind of tends to overwhelm the system. It's hard to define where did this come from and how do we treat it and what do we do now. So when we're talking about preventing things like cancer and a lot of the diseases caused by surgical plume, it's really important that we focus wherever we can on opportunities to prevent them from occurring in the first place. And this bill offers a great opportunity to do that, and we urge your support.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hi, good morning or afternoon now. I'm Will Barrett with the American Lung Association California, also in strong support. On a personal note, my sister's a surgeon, and I checked in with her about this bill, and she said exactly what you've said, is that she chooses to use one of these devices in her practice because without it, she can't stand to operate. So it's a real concern for the healthcare workers and their patients, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Renee Bayardo, SEIU, California. This is an important bill for worker safety. We ask for your aye vote.
Great. Any other support? Seeing none, we'll bring up the opposition, please.
I can go there. Oh, I mean. Okay. Thanks. After the musical chairs, Catherine Austin Scott with the California Hospital Association. We are opposed unless amended. We have opposed Cal OSHA bill mandates in the past, but in this particular bill, we realize that there is a growing number of hospitals that are working on this issue and feel it's important as the bill moves forward to work on language that actually will allow Cal OSHA to thoroughly review the issue, but then develop the best set of standards based on the science. So specifically, our concerns are the bill is crafted in a way that we believe narrowly dictates how Cal OSHA would put these standards forward, and we would like to widen that path just a bit in a couple of different ways. First, the scavenging system that they require in the bill has a 95% standard to get rid of all of the air particulates. Our struggle with the way it's drafted is that we don't know if we have to go in and test the particulates during the time and then make sure we got 95%, deleted. I think the goal is to eliminate the standard. I think we'd like some flexibility in how we do that. The other thing is the machinery required could be specific enough that it's a particular piece of machinery, whereas we have, as many of you know, the seismic standard is requiring the building of fantastically new hospitals, and we are reapproaching the way we look at ventilation systems. And so a lot of our ventilation systems in the surgical suite actually eliminate contaminants altogether. This bill would prevent us from using the overall ventilation system that would and could eliminate that particulate matter as a part of the larger system. So we have some concerns about that as well. And then the last concern that I'd like to mention is that in other parts of the work comp system, particularly bloodborne illnesses, you can consider the use of machinery that could interfere with a procedure. We'd like to continue that, allowing us to consider the machinery as a part of the what the device would have and how it would impact the procedure itself. So if it's a particular device, but we have a procedure that has to be done in a very small space, we'd like to allow the doctor to consider that. We don't employ our doctors, so we can't mandate that our doctors use a particular type of machinery. So we want to make sure that the hospital's not penalized if the doctor feels that that particular procedure would be disadvantaged by the machinery. So the combination of those, I think we'd like to just see a little more widening of the path for Cal OSHA to go down as opposed to the narrow path. We'd also like to note that this is only required in health facilities, and that a lot of the laser procedures are actually done in surgical centers and the like. So we, if the industry is going to come into a standard, we'd like to be thoughtful about that as well.
Great, thank you. Any
That's it.
others in
Thank you.
opposition? Okay. Wonderful. Questions from committee? Senator Mitchell.
Question of the author. That was the last point made by the opposition was a valid one. Why not include surgical centers?
I think it's important that we start somewhere, and we are looking at places where the majority of the surgeries are going to take place. I would say that to some of the things that we've heard today, we should never let kind of administrative concerns get in the way of saving lives. I'm sure that many of us have been touched by people who have been impacted by illness, and here we have the ability to prevent illness with very simple and cost-effective methods, and the opportunity to innovate and to be a leader and to make California a leader in protecting those who work in surgical environments and to protect the patients. And so, again, we're starting in hospital settings, and I've actually taken amendments to address some of the concerns of the Hospital Association. In particular, I amended the bill to require exposure prevention, education, and training for healthcare workers. And so we believe that this can be implemented in a way that respects other upgrades that hospitals are making. There is nothing about this bill that would limit any other kind of ventilation system. And so we would ask that you help us prevent illness that can be prevented with moving this bill.
Okay. I know there's a little conflict between, it doesn't prevent, you say it does prevent?
We just have concerns because there's a clause in the bill that doesn't allow the general ventilation system to be considered. And if our general ventilation systems are state-of-the-art, at the bottom of the bill, I don't want to get it out. It doesn't allow the mask to be considered or general ventilation. It has to be in addition to the general ventilation system. If there's an agreement to work on that, we can work on that. But that is our concern, that if we have a state-of-the-art general ventilation system that gets rid of all particulate, because we're concerned about airborne contaminants, period, then we would, we are concerned that our state-of-the-art hospitals where they reverse pressurize the room, push all the particles down, pull out all contaminants wouldn't be considered, so.
If I could, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Go ahead. I was going to just refer to the bill, I guess. It just basically, it says here that, in addition to general room ventilation standards or requirement, and compliance with general room ventilation standards shall not satisfy the requirement of this section. So it's just not that alone, basically, not the ventilation.
Yeah,
room
so if
alone.
our general ventilation system, which is what OSHPD considers as our general ventilation system, which is designed to remove all particulates, the new ones do a much better job of filtration and particulate systems, that would not be considered. They want this in addition to. So that is our concern. So, in
Has
that
it been
issue.
proven that the general ventilation has removed 95% or at least most of the plume?
Yeah, if the general ventilation system, which a lot of our systems are, this reverse ventilation system we're talking about pushes all particulate matter to the floor and then pulls it out. If it were to remove 95% of all the particulate matters in the room, that would not qualify. We'd have to have an additional system on top of that, the way we read the bill.
Mr. Chair, could our
Go ahead.
witness address that? I appreciate that you've given us the opportunity to clarify that again.
Go ahead.
This bill does not prohibit existing ventilation systems. It simply says that they're not enough and that a mask is not enough. And I'd love to have, if the chair's
Okay.
permission, to give our witness an opportunity to speak to the ventilation system question.
Okay.
Thank you very much. There's no evidence that proves that any general ventilation system can actually filter to submicron levels. We're talking about particles that are 0.12 microns in size. When particles go down to the floor, they are not captured by a system the way a system that is right at the surgical site can. Our standards, international standards, require capture within a couple of centimeters from where the plume is being generated. If it is not captured at that close a level, what's released or what moves away from the surgical site is what enters the breathing zones of everybody in the room. There's no way a general ventilation system has ever been proven to do that, and none of the standards anywhere in the world will allow for general ventilation alone. As far as masks go, there is no mask on the market anywhere in the world, including N95s, which are respirator masks, that are suitable for capturing the particulates released in electrosurgical or laser plume. It states that very clearly in all of our evidence-based standards. They are not to be used for occupational protection against any sort of surgical plume. There's no mask that's FDA approved for that purpose, and there's no mask on the market that can capture the amount of particulate that is released.
Thank you.
I just,
No, Senator Leno wants to ask a question. Let me, we'll come back to you.
I can't imagine that California is the first state to deal with surgical plume. Are we?
Yes.
Well, there goes my question. I was going to ask about any best practices that we could turn to. So we have to invent the wheel.
yes.
All right.
And I think where we're at in inventing the wheel is that there are, I mean, technologies are coming online at an incredible pace. And some of those technologies may be better for the surgical field and the employee and the surgeon than the technologies that we're concerned would be dictated as the bill is written. We are just interested in making sure that when we're picking this path, when we're telling Cal OSHA to go forward, that we do it in a way that allows it the opportunity to look at the science, the current technology, those standards, and develop those in their already fairly rigorous process. So we just feel this bill sends us down a narrower path. We'd like to widen that path a little bit so that rigorous Cal OSHA process can give us some.
Thank you. And could the Assemblyman respond, please?
Sure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question, Senator. What you just heard suggests, with technologies projected to come online, suggests that we should wait.
No.
And I'd say, why would we wait when we have access to technology now that is so cost-effective, as low as $1,000, even if it's $5,000, is a life not worth making such a small investment for what's a proven technology now? And I would simply submit that.
We're not opposed to the bill
I understand. And I think you're going
altogether.
to keep working this out. Mr. Chair, I move the bill.
The bill has been moved. Any other questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you. I want to thank the author for bringing this bill forward. It does bring some genuine concern of some of the issues that are occurring in the operating rooms, and I know the nurses have been concerned with this issue. And I noticed in the bill you signaled the two leading, I guess, agencies that actually or groups that actually study the ISO and the CSA to be the two leading firms or groups that actually get to approve these kind of devices. So let's hope that we can continue to work with the opposition, but I appreciate you bringing this bill forward. So with that, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Stone? Stone, no. Jackson? Aye. Jackson, aye. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mitchell, aye.
Bill has 4 votes. It is out.
Thank you.
Senator Garcia, thank you for your patience. Please step forward. Senator Garcia, you got item number 6, and that's the AB 2197. Please begin.
AB 2197 would allow us to start an unemployment insurance benefit program for classified employees. I like to think about this, think that you're working on minimum wage, and somehow you're supposed to live on that on a day-to-day basis. Most of the time, you're only doing minimum wage part-time, 20 hours, and now think that you have to spread that out over 3 months when schools are closed down. That's the reality our classified employees have been working on. For the summer months, they're left on their own to try to figure out how to survive, oftentimes asking for $5, $10 of teachers they work with. I used to be one of those teachers, or their friends or neighbors to get by. This bill is sensible. It phases it in slowly over 4 years. It has a clause that it only goes into effect if we appropriate it in the budget. So it's something that we would have to negotiate on a regular basis. But I think it's a really small lifeline, and it would just be a lifeline because it would only be, in its full implementation, about $500 a month that we would be helping these individuals with for 2 months of the summer. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. With me to testify today, I have, sorry, wrong folder. Kimberly Rosenberger from SEIU and Ron Rapp with the California Federation of Teachers.
Thank you, Kimberly Rosenberger. We are in strong support and proud sponsors of this bill. It acknowledges the plight of classified workers during the summer months. To highlight, 2/3 of classified workers are women, and half of those are the sole income providers for their home. The median income salary is $14 to $16 an hour. So these workers are struggling to make it paycheck to paycheck, let alone put money aside to survive during the summer months. They are one of the few people that are excluded during the summer months. Temporary and seasonal workers, such as ticket takers, are able to collect unemployment insurance, but these workers that have made careers to helping students can't collect unemployment insurance and aren't paid. Unlike their colleagues, they can't afford to bridge that gap, so we really appreciate the author's efforts to address this issue, and we think this bill is a strong step in the way of helping them deal with this hardship. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Ron Rapp on behalf of the California Federation of Teachers, speaking in strong support of this bill. We represent thousands of classified school employees, and this bill is extremely important to our members. As was stated, these classified employees do not get a paycheck during the summer, and it creates a tremendous financial hardship for them and their families. So this bill would provide them with at least a minimal amount of money to support their families, pay rent, buy food, etc. We respectfully request your aye vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Senators, Seth Bramble here on behalf of the California Teachers Association. In CTA land, we call our classified staff ESPs, Education Support Professionals. Despite the important and hard work of our ESPs, many do struggle to support their families with incomes that are often inadequate to pay for food, housing, and health care. This is a really important measure. We thank Assemblymember Garcia for introducing this important proposal and urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Others in support?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, Mitch Seaman with California Labor Federation, also in support.
Great, thank you. Any others in support? Any in opposition? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee. Any committee members have any comments, questions? We have a motion.
Just
Senator
an
Jackson.
observation, if my arithmetic's right, it's $16 an hour times 40 hours a week. That's $640 a week, but they get paid for 40 weeks, correct? It's about $25,000, $26,000 a year that these people are being paid to support themselves and their families. In today's world, that just doesn't get you very far. So I appreciate this effort. I think we need to start doing the math a little bit more when we start talking about the people out there who are doing their best, working hard, just not able to make ends meet. You can't do it on this kind of money, whether you work with great enthusiasm or you realize that it still isn't enough. We got to do what we can. This isn't going to help us with the income divide, and it's also not going to help our families who are struggling to get by as well. So I appreciate the bill, and I am happy to support it.
I think many classifieds don't even work that many hours. They work 3 hours a day.
Usually
sometimes.
20 hours a week.
Yeah, they don't work that many. It makes it even worse.
It's even more ridiculous.
Yeah, we always fight to have them at least 1 hour in our classroom at times, you know. It just becomes difficult. So I do appreciate the bill. I know we have more question from Senator Leno.
Thank you. I also appreciate the bill, Assemblywoman. If you could better inform me, I'm not all that familiar. Schools do pay into a special unemployment fund or not? How does that work?
Not for classified employees.
Not for classified.
No, the states have the option to opt in or opt out of programs like that. The state of California has opted out of that program. So they have no lifeline for 3 months. They're just out there on their own, and they're supposed to figure out how to spread out minimum wage, part-time over these 3 months also. I just think it's unfortunate for folks who are working in the shadows, I have to say, we forget about them, but they're making sure our schools are clean and safe and kids are getting to school on time and home in a safe manner. Most of them are women, but are at the state forever. Before we used to have summer school, and we were able to capture some individuals that way. We used to have other systems, but the reality is that most of these folks are just out there struggling for 3 months, and they are guaranteed a job when the new year starts, but the reality is that we're making these folks struggle for 3 months.
It's not sustainable.
It hasn't been sustainable for a long time, and they're out there literally asking for $5, $10. I mean, I feel these are taking care of our children and our future leaders. They should live with integrity during the summer months.
Okay, agreed. See no other comments? We'll go ahead and ask for a room to close.
Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, and we do have a motion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Stone?
No.
Stone, no. Jackson?
Aye.
Jackson, aye. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Mitchell?
Aye.
Mitchell, aye.
Has 4 votes, it is out. Congratulations. All right, we're going to be lifting the calls on a few items that were left.
Yes.
We have 5 items. We'll start with item number 1, SB 985, Berry Hill. Madam Secretary, please lift the call.
Motion is due pass to appropriations. Mendoza?
Aye. I'm sorry, no.
Mendoza, no. That, it has one. It fails.
Okay, the bill has only 1 vote and it fails. We'll grant reconsideration. We go to item number 4, AB 1843, Stone. Madam Secretary, please lift the call.
Motion is due pass to appropriations. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. It has 4 votes.
It has 4 votes. That item is out. We'll go to item number 5, AB 2105, Assemblymember Rodriguez. Madam Secretary, please call the absent members.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Jackson? Aye. Jackson, aye. It has 5 votes.
The bill has 5 votes. It is out. We'll go to item number 9, AB 2493, Senate Member Atkins. Madam Secretary, please call the absent members.
Motion is due pass to appropriations. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. It has 5 votes.
It has 5 votes. It is out. And we'll go ahead and adopt the consent calendar.
Would you check if you would, Mr. Chair, file item 6? I don't believe that I voted on that item.
Garcia?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, there was,
Yeah.
no, maybe I got it wrong.
Yeah.
The other Garcia, was there an
Eduardo Garcia, number 10.
number 10? I may have voted for that. All right, well, I apologize.
I
File-
have Senator Jackson down as aye.
Yeah, you have it down as an aye. Senator
All right, very
Jackson.
good, thank you.
Okay. Now we're down to the consent items. We're going to lift the call. There's 2 items, just to be clear. Item 11 and number 13, they're both on consent. So we'll go ahead and lift the call and call the absent members.
Senator Jackson? Aye. Jackson, aye. 5 votes.
Okay, the consent calendar has 5 votes. It is out. Thank you so much, and we'll thank staff for their patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.